can claim, in charge of, like providing guidance to the other residents or stuff like that. It's very different than being on duty and responsible for monitoring these patients' heart rates, heart tones, etc.
So help me understand, counsel, how it is that Gibson is only providing essentially assistance. He's only on duty. What separates Gibson from Dr. Ramon and Dr. Raj? By that line of reasoning, then they're only on duty and they're only opining and giving opinions compared to my client's labor and birth, and as a result, no doctor is essentially in charge.
There's a difference between being on duty and being the operating physician of a procedure. So if
Sure.
you're going into a procedure for blah blah blah, and you don't monitor whatever, you're the operating physician as opposed to being on duty.
Well, can you then demonstrate that Dr. Ramon and Dr. Raj were on duty?
It's not my concern. I'm not trying to indicate them or shield them from liability. I'm simply saying, like, I'm not even thinking about that, to be honest.
Sure. So the way I see it then, Dr. Gibson was only just really there as an advisor, and he had no serious part to play.
It's sort of not my position to spell out hospital policy other than to defend against the claim.
So, in your opinion, Dr. Gibson did not have that responsibility during the 3 hours that he was in Rebecca's room. He did not have to check blood pressure.
I would love to discourse more candidly, but as a professional agent, I'm not going to give an opinion. I'm just saying that there's no evidence to show that it was.
So, is your position that he didn't have to check fetal heart tones or blood pressures?
I see no evidence that he did.
So he didn't have to check.
Again, it's not about me making a determination. I don't see any evidence that he did.
Okay. Well, I agree. I don't see any evidence that he did either. Right. That was the breach of the standard of medical care.
No. The evidence that he did, meaning evidence that he had the responsibility to.
Oh, okay.
I mean, all right. I mean, again, counsel, it's like this is obviously really muddy, and I've moved.
Yeah, I'll go to 40. I don't understand why you're not moving down.
Yeah, like we're moving.
So help me understand. 200 from you, 40 from you.
Yeah.
Doesn't that seem a little lopsided to you too?
No, because I have 4 out of the 5 people.
Sure, but arguably, they didn't do as much as Dr. Gibson.
I mean, doesn't that
But
our client where the money
also
come
arguably,
from?
Dr. Gibson didn't do anything. I'll put it like this.
Yeah.
We're at this point. It's easier for us to go to trial. It's not even close.
So I definitely
Yeah,
agree that
I mean-
240,000 is a significant increase from 120,000. You essentially doubled.
We're more interested in your end rather than like.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Here's the thing is, like he said, if you're at 2.3, I'll roll the dice. He'll roll the dice.
Yeah.
And we might get punched by the jury, but
Well,
because it won't be for 2.35.
Hold your horses. Considering that you have doubled essentially your position and you have increased your position a reasonable amount.
Mhm.
Well, I thank you genuinely for that offer because it is a significant increase, and it does demonstrate that you two are both committed to resolving this amicably, which I am as well. Obviously, I'm not trying to
Mhm.
rake us through the mud here by any means. Nobody really wants to deal with litigation or that nasty ass judge,
Of course.
So, considering these developments, I feel that I could drop down to 1.95.
Okay, it's movement.
And I am conceding that because we have established that it would be very difficult for Dr. Gibson to have, essentially, based on what counsel provided, it would be very difficult for fetal heart tone to be checked during those 3 hours. It's my opinion that he didn't check. It's his opinion that he did check.
No, it's not my opinion. That he
No?
did check. It's
Or that it was his responsibility.
Yeah, duties.
Okay. And that could be very confusing to a fact finder. I agree with that. That could be very problematic.
I mean, tell us about your client, though. I mean, in reality, 1.95 still or not.
Haven't we already talked about her drug past?
No,
like,
no, I'm not
Everybody's
talking about that.
everybody's cheap little reefer here and there, you know.
No, I think it was more than reefer, sorry.
Mm.
But that's not where I'm getting at. I'm getting at is like, what could she actually? I mean, what does she want to have? What improvements in her life is she seeking from the money? Like, I mean, what you know what I'm saying is like, if you can give me an understanding of like what can make your client actually feel better and be better, I can, you know what I'm saying? Because you know, you moved, and I get it.
Sure,
But we're still in a big gap here. We're still in a big gap.
sure.
Like, you know,
Well, as you both know, this information was in the facts.
sure.
As a result of Rebecca's birth, she suffered severe difficulties.
Of course.
So, I will have, and this is a report by Patricia R. Meyer, as you both probably know. So, it's physically impossible to bring Rebecca into a flexed sitting position. She shows least pathology when one stands her. She prefers standing, walking, and lying supine. I assume you two know what supine means?
Mhm.
It's when you're like that,
Yeah.
facing up.
I don't think either of us dispute this.
Yeah.
is a-
Yeah. That's very, very hard for her, obviously, and she's had to deal with that for essentially her whole life. She's like, I believe she's 7 years old now. It's to argue that it'd be getting better. It's difficult because there have been slight improvements, but when she was 3, she was talking like a 6-month-old. Language skills, which I don't know if you know many 6-months-old. My cousin, who was 6 months old a few years back.
Yeah.
Lugu gag. Very tough.
Um,
And at 3, normally you
And
can
these,
have.
these are obviously all just symptoms, not necessarily. Well, no, that's not what I'm going at. It's not what I'm going at.
Okay.
I'm saying like more just like, again, things happen in the hospital that are horrific every single day.
That is true.
Without court intervention, that happens every single day.
That is true.
And also, actually, I can't bring up outside information. I will say that courts are pretty sympathetic to doctors and hospitals.
That is true. Nobody disputes that.
Off the money, off who's to blame, who's responsible for what, off all of that. This is actually one of my biggest concerns for my clients. I think, Doc, you would agree with this.
Sure.
Look, but except Dr. B, the one who actually delivered, she has the experience. I got 2 doctors here who just started their career who do not need the public and people thinking that they're horrible doctors. I don't need their careers being destroyed. These are going to be they are capable doctors now. They're going to be wonderful doctors and help people later down the road. Okay. So one of the things I would really like from you is in our agreement here that your client promises not to disparage any particular doctor in the hospital. Do not disparage the hospital itself, because first of all, I don't want those doctors having their careers destroyed because your client goes out and says, oh, well, these are the most incompetent, horrible doctors ever, and destroy their practice. I don't think that would be fair to them. Everyone makes mistakes, no, that's kind of how it goes. So, in this agreement, I would like that, a non-disparagement clause with liquidated damages. That would be double the value of this case. Okay, and we'll figure out what that value is, but that's kind of like boilerplate.
Slightly premature. Slightly premature.
Would you mind giving us 2 minutes so we can talk?
I have no problem taking 2 minutes. Yeah.
We're at like hour 20, so we probably have an hour.
Half an hour.
I'll be back in a couple.
Appreciate it.
Taking your time, huh?
I know, get the fuck out.
Sorry.
Alright. Alright, so he's playing hardball.
I can pay out $1.9 million.
That's what you're authorized to pay?
That's what I'm authorized to pay. I want to pay that.
Yeah, for me,
If I
okay.
can get away from 5,
What's your like realistic, what do you want?
if I can walk away under $1 million from my clients, I'd be happy.
Is that all it's, Cause, okay, let's say you go to trial, did it say like what the balls you would draw are?
Yeah, here, actually I have it.
Is that,
Yeah.
I don't know if ours are the same.
So look, if you fail to settle this matter, the case will be decided by a jury, determining jury verdict against your client in this box, case, a box, with 11 slips, blah, blah, blah. One slip will be for 500,000, the other will be for $2 million.
Oh, interesting.
The other 9 slips will contain amounts in $100,000 intervals between 800 and 1600. So for me, if I can get at 500, I avoid the jury. And
I still think you're going, honestly, I think you're going too high.
you think,
Cause he's playing real hardball, but like, here's what I'll say. Cause so for me, I think I get slips from like 4 to 1 million. I also like, genuinely, and I genuinely think that the legal argument that he gave us, so he clearly committed malpractice, my dog.
yeah, yeah. So
But the legal argument is like not great. Like there's like few evidence that hospital didn't write that down the standard of care, which is why I've been so confident in like.
yeah. Because the policy is different from the standard. The policy could be whatever, right?
Exactly.
And I get your point.
Well, no. So the policy is important, but it has to be written down. You can't just be like there has to be a reason.
Like yes, people.
I don't know, I just feel like the actual medicine is clear, but the standard of care part is gonna. So let's get back to why I don't know why he's so firm on. He probably wants 1.5 million.
He has stuff he's not telling us that's detrimental. We need to suck it out.
Why do you think that?
I don't know because
I feel like
he's
just
he's telling us things we already know.
I feel like he's just like one of those guys that thinks like if he stays firm. I think we have to like at least feign until 4:55 that we're gonna walk.
Okay.
And then I guess if you want to go to whatever, I'm probably gonna stay. I'm looking at him. I want to stay under 200 if I can.
Okay.
And if you want to correspond that or whatever.
Okay. All right, counsel. They don't have a key card.
You didn't hear anything yet?
Huh?
You didn't hear anything that I said?
No.
Okay, so you came in that way and I was like, weird.
I was standing up.
You're good.
Yeah.
All right, counsel.
Even if I did, I would say no.
Yeah,
I'm at 200.
Yeah, we established that.
Why is that inadequate?
Why is that inadequate?
Yeah, because I mean, if it was adequate, you would have taken it, we'd be out of here, right?
Yeah.
Then, I mean, what's your problem with my offer?
Well, I think partially 200 is inadequate because 2.3 was inadequate. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Here's the jury range. This is you. Why would we settle here when we could just go to trial and go anywhere?
That's very true. But I'm supposed to shoot for the stars.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but and as we get closer to 5, maybe we'll shoot for the moon, not the sun.
But the reality, I get your point.
Would you respect me more if I gave you an offer of 200,000 at the start? No, not even close.
Well, sure.
I'm sure you would.
But I guess it's just
yeah.
like,
I think I'd shake your hands.
Yeah.
Nice knowing
Yeah,
you.
then I'd feel like an
it'll
idiot,
be a quick,
you know?
negotiation. Well, I just want to. My only point was I want to make sure that when he's, my point is we're not really interested in here, and I get why you have to start here.
Sure.
And obviously we started here, and so it's not necessarily meet in the middle. It's just evaluate the merits to see is there a range, here that we both could feel comfortable with.
So, obviously you two understand how this works, right?
Sure.
You two, I'm sure that if you were in my shoes, you two would have started around there. Maybe more, maybe a little less. That's not my business because at the end of the day, I'm plaintiff side, you are defense side. That's the hand we are dealt by the legal system. But clearly, we are making progress. And that should be the ultimate goal, right?
Sure.
Otherwise, anything can happen at trial. And while I do agree, jury verdicts are not inclined to go over 2 million, it could happen. Similarly, I could go skin broke, like I frequently do at the casinos. But we're in Vegas, people roll the dice all the time.
I will tell you though, as of recently, some of these mid-mail trials, plaintiffs aren't pulling out too much money. I mean, I have it here somewhere for you.
That's true.
And we also should, if we're gonna settle, we need to focus on the merits because this isn't just about where's the slot machine gonna.
Definitely. I agree, 100%.
Mm-hmm. But
All right, so We have concerns with. I feel like a big concern